What is the Virtual Fun Fair? The Virtual Fun Fair is a VR Unity-based project where the players are able to come together and interact in a small virtual world to play classic carnival games with or against each other. The aim was to create a fun world where users can join and unwind in a fun environment while also giving players the ability to play casual games and also communicate. We created these games to help people connect in a safe online environment where they're able to speak with friends easily, whilst also allowing the potential to meet new people in public spaces. And then networking. Due to the project being built on Unity, we opted for the implementation of Unity-based services to achieve the network. Through the use of Unity and Relay Lobby, players are able to host multiplayer games and connect across different networks. This is through public and private lobbies, as Relay allows the player's IP to not be exposed, meaning it's just safer to play with people you might not necessarily know, and the lobby service allowing players to have free will over how their multiplayer experience is.
So the sprint plan we had, so we'd kind of take an agile approach in order to ensure that the project could move as smoothly as possible and that we were always working on something that we needed to work on. So for example, we wanted to get the fundamental built in the early week. You can see we wanted to get the research done, we wanted to figure out how to get the VR rig set up so we could get the players moving before we did more complicated things like the mini games and making the models, make it look pretty. You can see later on as the project moves along, we wanted to do like audio further on, make sure all that was working, then develop a minigame which is actually quite far down. Then further down you have like finalize the map and the minigames. Just ensure that the project moves along at the best pace possible. Our interaction with our clients were of course by weekly meetings to sprint recaps. At the same time we were contacting our clients, at the same time we'd contact our professor to make sure that everyone that was involved was kept up to date with what we were doing at the time. Our clients in Open Studio have been fantastic, they're very clear, they've been ensuring that any goals or visions they had in mind they would tell us, but then other than that we were basically free to do our own thing. They were always giving us good feedback, always offering to help in any way that we needed, so that was quite helpful. I think we were able to take the client feedback on board quite often and then develop the game in the vision that they saw and push it. For example, the fences were rotated the wrong way one day. They told us about that, it was fixed before the next presentation. They told us how they wanted the model to look, and we made sure that we updated it to be more family friendly. Thank you.
Okay, so to create each art asset in the game, especially the 3D models, Blender was our choice since it's a free and open source software. So since the beginning we had a bunch of discussions internally on how we wanted to approach the art direction of our game, and we came to a conclusion very early on how we wanted to settle this. So creating all 3D assets, to create all 3D assets we had to follow a certain criteria. First of all, each model had to be relatively simple, no complex shapes, and most importantly, each asset should have a low polygon count. Additionally, colors had to be simple, we didn't want any complex coloring such as gradients. And finally, each model had to make sense within the context of our game. So if you take a look at the images, the balloons, they are something you usually find in Carnival, so we decided to make that for example. So pretty much we always worked with risks in mind, and we knew that some risks would occur. So what we did pretty much is that we broke down each risks into how likely they would happen and how crucial they were to the project, how they will slow us down. It allowed us to mitigate certain impactful risks such as overwriting data, but also not worrying too much about other smaller risks such as models desyncing or normals not being correct for certain models. We were able to mostly progress without issues, however we had a major issue in the end where the final build of the project was overwritten by accident, which resulted in a lot of data being lost. But we were able to learn as a group, and we adopted a new method of saving the game to two locations to ensure that the final build was always up to date without endangering other builds.
Making the minigames. So the development of the minigames was the key part of the Virtual Fun Fair. We wanted to try and create a fun, simple game that worked well in VR and for multiplayer. So the mini games we came up with for this was we made a whack-a-mole based on the arcade version, where obviously the moles randomly pop up from different holes, and the players will have to try and score points by hitting them. And our main focus on this was trying to get the timing and hit detection to make sure the game felt fair and rewarding and it didn't feel any janky. The basketball minigame was actually inspired by the basketball hoop in Phasmophobia, one of my favourite games. We thought it'd be fun to recreate it in a more interactive way for VR. So players can pick up the ball and try to score into the hoop. The score is kept client-sided so everyone can see their own personal scores, while we also have a high score shown to keep some friendly competition, which is unique to our game. So the final project was a success visually, behind the scenes and for teaching the group new skills. We have fully working lobby areas with 2 working mini games. We also have players are able to join and interact, not only with the mini games, but also with each other with a functional handshake. The models have turned out well, and the general atmosphere of the game is inviting and fun, which is what the group and the clients were aiming for. We successfully integrated a multiplayer lobby system, so different people can join different lobbies and they can be made private if need be. Thank you, and if you have any questions. Hello, this is the Virtual Fun Fair. Let me show off. Obviously, this is the menu at the top. We can create a room, but we have Dave in here. If we just refresh, there's the lobby here. If we click join, we should hopefully join Dave right there. To quickly show off the map, we obviously have the campfire here.
Hello.
There's the voice chat working. We obviously have the campfire here with all the barrels and stuff. If I move further away from Dave, hopefully he
Gradually be getting a bit quieter.
and he should cut out. And obviously if I get closer to Dave, as I do that,
Louder and louder, hopefully.
oh, don't matter.
And then eventually you'll be max volume.
As you get closer to him, obviously it'll be max volume. If I go in for a handshake with this, grab a handshake, handshake.
Fantastic.
And then if I just quickly show off the map, we obviously have 2 leaderboards either side. One for whack-a-mole, the highest score so far is 31, scored by me. And then basketball, no one's scored a high score yet for this lobby. If we just walk around the map, I'll show off the 2 minigames. We go through tent number 1. We have whack-a-mole in here, where you pick up the hammer to start. And then if we go to the other bench, we obviously have fences with colliders and balloons and barrels and all this decoration. If we go over to basketball, obviously we have the basketball minigame. You can obviously pick up the balls and they do bounce. And we can obviously throw them in. And that's the mini games. And then here's the decoration. Oh. And here's the player model.
Welcome back.
And then close, obviously the voice chat picks up again.
Of course.
And that's the game.